Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 1st chapter, titled The Activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. Text number 25 to 27, so 26 has purport, we will chant. Etesham kavir mahaviras savana iti traya asan urdhvareta sasta atmavidyayam arbhabhavat आरभ्य कृत परिचयाः पारमहंस्यम् एवाश्रमम् अभजन्. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ke jai. Translation. 3 among these 10, namely Kavi, Mahavira and Savana, lived in complete celibacy. Thus, trained in brahmachari life from the beginning of childhood, they were very conversant with the highest perfection known as the Paramahamsa Ashrama. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Urdhvaretasaha in this verse instructions once from their teacher could remember them verbatim without needing to read books, which therefore did not exist in former times. Another significant word is Arbha Bhavat, which means from very childhood. Another meaning is from being very affectionate to children. In other words, Paramahamsa life is dedicated for the benefit of others. Just as a father sacrifices many things out of affection for his son, great saintly persons sacrifice all kinds of bodily comforts for the benefit of human society. In this connection, there is a verse concerning the 6 Goswamis, Tyaktva Turnamashesha Mandalapati Shrenim Sada Tuchavat Bhutva Dina Ganeshakau Karunaya Kaupina Kanta Shritau. Because of their compassion for the poor fallen souls, the 6 Goswamis gave up their exalted positions as ministers and took vows as mendicants. Thus, minimizing their bodily wants as far as possible, they each accepted only a loincloth and a begging bowl. Thus, they remained in Vrindavan to execute the orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by compiling and publishing various Vaishnava literatures. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport.
So here we are seeing Maharaj Priyavrata and his activities. And today's verse, we are seeing particularly about the activities of his 3 sons, who are described here as Parama Rishayaha. They were great saints. And their names are Kavi, Mahavira and Savana. And Shukadev Goswami is particularly focusing on these 3. And then he is saying, Tasmin, because he talked about they were in the Paramahamsa stage in the previous verse. Tasmin, in that Paramahamsa ashrama, Uhava Upashama Shilaha. The first qualification he is describing, that they are Upashama Shilaha. Shilaha, disposition, and their disposition was of somebody who has Upashama Shilaha, one who has subdued the senses, controlled the senses and the mind. Upashama Shilaha. And because they were Upashama Shilaha, they became Paramarishayaha. They were known as great saints. And then what did they do? Sakala Jiva Nikaya Vasasya Bhagavato Vasudevasya. And they took shelter of Sakala Jiva Nikaya, Sakala Jiva Nikaya Avasasya Bhagavataha Vasudevasya. They took shelter of Vasudeva. And who is Vasudeva? Sakala Jiva Nikaya. He's the residence, he's the resting place of Sakala Jiva Nikaya. And that Bhagavataha Vasudeva is Bhitanam Sharanabhutasya. Of those Bhitanam, of those who are afraid of material existence, he is the shelter, Sharanabhuta. He is the shelter of those who are afraid of material existence. Actually, here when we say fear of material existence, generally somebody is very fearful means it's not a very advanced stage. But here, Bhitana, fearful of material existence, is a sign of spiritual advancement. That's why Krishna, when he describes 13th chapter, what are the signs of knowledge? And he indicates that those who are recognized that Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanudarshanam is a sign of enlightenment. So this fear of material existence is not a negative in that sense. It is a sign of enlightenment. Because the reality is, the material existence is like a forest fire. And an animal in the forest fire, how it will be filled of bhitana, full of fear. And if there is an animal which is not afraid, and all around there is fire, and then he is still sleeping and enjoying and thinking, he is a foolish living entity. Isn't it? So in the same way, our existence in this material world, if we realize that it is like a forest fire. Every morning we come and start our spiritual life remembering that this material world is a forest fire, full of miseries. You run this way, there is fire. You run this way, there is fire. You try to fly up like a bird, there is fire there. Where can you go? There is misery everywhere. This is the realization a devotee must have. And hence he must be bhitanam. And for him, when you realize that the situation is like a forest fire, no effort can put out the forest fire except divine intervention in the form of a rain. And hence, a devotee takes shelter of Vasudeva, and he is the Sharanabhuta. He is the Bhitanam Sharanabhutasya. Srimat Charanaravinda Aviratha Smarana. Aviratha Smarana. And what they were doing, that Lord Vasudeva, who is the shelter of those who are afraid of material existence, the enlightened souls who are afraid of material existence, the foolish souls are not, they don't understand that this they think the material world is a wonderful place. We'll fix it. Some problem is there, but we will fix it. That's a foolish idea. And so, what did they do? What did they do? Srimat Charanaravinda Avirata Smarana. Avirata Smarana. They were constantly remembering the lotus feet of Vasudeva, of Krishna. So Bhagavatam is a compilation of very extraordinary devotees in different parts of the universe, different times of the history, and all of these are great souls who had attained that very, very exalted perfection. So, Charanaravinda Avirata Smarana, constantly remembering. And as a result of it, Avigalita, completely uncontaminated. Parama Bhakti Yoga Anubhavena. And in this way they performed Bhakti Yoga. Smaranam is also one of the ninefold Bhakti methods. And because of that, what happened? Parama Bhakti Yoga Anubhavena, by the prowess. The Bhakti Yoga that we perform has a certain potency, spiritual potency. So, they experienced that. That Parama Bhakti Yoga Anubhavena Paribhavita. What is the most important effect of bhakti? It purifies the heart. Paribhavita, they became purified. And antahrudaye adhigathe, and within their heart, adhigathe, adhigatha, they perceived. They were able to feel the presence. They were able to experience it. It was not just some intellectual knowledge that they were having. Antaha hrudaya adhigate. They perceived within their heart. Bhagavati sarvesham bhutanam. The Lord, who is sarvesham bhutanam. Atma bhute. And that Lord who is situated in everyone's heart. Atma bhute. Pratyak. Directly they perceived. Atmani, with the Supreme Soul. Eva. Atmanaha tadatmyam. Tadatmyam means oneness. Oneness. Tadatmyam. Qualitative equality. Avisheshena. Without any differences. Tadatmyam avisheshena samiyuhu. They realize. So they realize the qualitative oneness of themselves with the super soul, whom and they realize that oneness, qualitative oneness between myself, we, and the Lord. There is qualitative oneness. They samiyuhu. They realize that because of Parama Bhakti Yoga Anubhavena, because of the prowess of their devotional service. So, thus situated in the renounced order from the beginning of their lives, all three of them completely control the activities of their senses. Upashama Shilaha. And thus became great saints, Parama Rishayaha. They concentrated their minds always, aviratha, upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Charanaravinda Smarana, who is the resting place of the totality of the living entities. Sakala Jiva Nikaya Avasasya, who is therefore celebrated as Vasudeva, Vasudevasya, Bhagavato Vasudevasya. Lord Vasudeva is the only shelter, Sharanabhuta, of those who are afraid of material existence. Bhitanam Sharanabhutasya. By constantly thinking of his lotus feet. Srimad Charanaravinda Avirata Smarana. These three sons of Maharaj Priyavrata became advanced in pure devotional service. By the prowess of their devotional service, Parama Bhakti Yoga Anubhavena, they could directly perceive Hrudaya Adhigathe, Pratyak Hrudaya Adhigathe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart. Sarvesham Bhutanam Atma Bhute. That there was qualitatively no difference. Tadatmyam Avisheshena Tadatmyam between themselves and him, and that, and realize Samiyuhu, and they realized that. So in the purport, some very nice points are mentioned by Srila Prabhupada. The first is that how they are called Paramahamsa, they have reached the Paramahamsa stage, and how Paramahamsa stage is reached in the Vedic system gradually. And very wonderful. I don't think there is any culture in the world which talks about renunciation, gradually advancing in renunciation in a very systematic way in the society. So, there are 4 stages of the sannyasa ashrama, and Prabhupada has nicely explained. Kutichaka, that's the first stage of the sannyasa ashrama. He has lived with his wife and children in his home for so long. So naturally there is some kind of an attachment. But now he stays outside the village in a cottage, and from his home the food comes every day. So he cannot be very attached living in the house, but at least food is coming. Don't worry. So there is one level of detachment. And then after that he stops, food coming from home stops. And then he goes about Madhukari, just like the profession of a bumblebee, collecting little food. So there is next level of renunciation. And then after he has become very renounced and very enlightened, now he wants to share that knowledge with others. And he travels everywhere as Priyavrata Acharya. Traveling, showing by his personal example, teaching and sharing the realization he has got with the common people. Priyavrata Acharya. And this is how you see how spiritual advancement, an opportunity for spiritual advancement was so naturally available to everyone in the society. You don't have to go to a big university, pay some extreme costly fees and all those kind of things. These Priyavrata Acharyas, they were so merciful. They would go and share their knowledge freely. They were very renounced. Their requirements were very, very simple. They would go and share this advanced knowledge with the common people. Priyavrata Acharya. And then after traveling and traveling, then Prabhupada has used a nice word. The sannyasi reaches Paramahamsa stage when he finishes his preaching work. He is finished with his preaching work. He's traveled everywhere. And then he sits down in one place strictly for the sake of advancing in spiritual life. Further now he wants to sit in one place and make further advancement. So a very wonderful system of, Vedic system of increasing renunciation and for advancing in spiritual life. Very wonderful things. And these three sons of Maharaj Priyavrata, they were in that Paramahamsa stage from the very beginning. And they were in that stage, and Upashama Shilaha. They were renounced. They were naturally renounced. This Upashama Shilaha. This word Upashama comes many places. One of the verses that Srila Prabhupada often would quote, Tasmad Gurum Prapadyetha Jignasu Shreya Uttamam Shabdhe Parecha Nishnatam Brahman Upashamashrayam. Brahmanya Upashamashrayam. These are the qualifications of a spiritual master. He must be Brahmanya Upashamashrayam. He must be situated in Brahmanya, Brahman, absolute truth. And because he is situated in absolute truth, he is no more interested in material activities, Upashamashrayam. Leaving aside all material consideration. That's the translation Prabhupada makes when he explains Upashamashrayam. Because they have taken shelter of Krishna and Shabdhe Parecha Nishnatam, and they are experts in Shabdhe Shabda. Shabda Brahma refers to Vedic knowledge. And they were Nishnatam. They were experts in Vedic knowledge. How they were experts? They were able to convince anyone about the conclusions of the Vedic literature. Like that, they were Nishnatam about Vedic knowledge, and Pare about the Supreme Lord. And they were Brahmanya Upashamashrayam. And they had no interest, no activities connected with the material world. So they were Upashamashrayam. Here the word is Upashama Shilaha. And there is another verse in the Bhagavatam, Anarthopashamam Sakshad Bhakti Yogam Adhokshaje. Anartha Upashamam. Another occasion, Anartha Upashamam Sakshad Bhakti Yogam Adhokshaje. So when one does bhakti yoga, anartha upashamam, upashama here mitigates, mitigation of anarthas. Anartha upashama happens. So like this, we see this word upashama, shilaha. And these three sons of Priyavrata, they were naturally upashama shilaha. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna explains, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Here, Krishna is talking about two stages. One is niraharasya stage. Another stage is param drishtva stage. In both stages, Vishaya vinivartante is present. Upashama is present. Abstaining from sense engagement is present in both stages. But in one stage, niraharasya dehinaha. Actually the word nirahara means what? Fasting. Right? No ahara. That's called nirahara. Here nirahara means abstinence from sense engagement. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha. One who is niraharasya dehinaha, one who is practicing abstinence from engagement in Vishaya, Vishaya vinivartante. He is freed from sense engagement. Niraharasya dehinaha. Then what about param drishtva? There is a difference between somebody who has seen the truth and who is only practicing niraharasya according to regulation. What is the difference? In the first stage, rasavarjam vishaya vinivartante. Rasa means sense of enjoyment. He is abstaining from vishaya, but sense of enjoyment has not gone away. Rasavarjam vishaya vinivartante. Other than giving up the sense of enjoyment, he is abstaining from vishaya. But when he is param drishtva, rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. When he is param drishtva, he is rasa api asya param drishtva nivartate. Rasaha api nivartate. Even the sense of enjoyment he has given up. That is called upashama shilaha. So this Vishaya vinivartante stage talks about two stages. One is when we are in a regulated way, we are abstaining from sense enjoyment. That is one stage, that is essential. That is part of the spiritual culture. Without that, we cannot have any spiritual realization. But then after a certain time, one becomes freed when anartha upashamaha happens. Then that sense of enjoyment also goes away. Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. That is the proof that one has param drishtva, parama darshana. He has seen the truth. Because of that, he has even the sense of enjoyment is gone. These are the things that we should be constantly working on in our heart as devotees. When we can, that sense of enjoyment in the material world. Because the conditioned soul, in every opportunity, in every situation, in every time, an opportunity for enjoyment is there. This conditioned soul leaps forward and grabs that opportunity. Let me enjoy. So, Krishna consciousness means to become freed from that part. And that can happen when we have true realization of Krishna. So, these three sons of Maharaj Priyavrata, they were such upashama shilaha. They were very renounced. Naturally, they were very renounced. And Another important word is here, anubhavena, parama bhakti yoga anubhavena. So this bhakti yoga, it has a certain spiritual potency. If you see carefully how the spiritual life that Srila Prabhupada has given us has all the elements what Bhagavatam is describing here of these three Parama Rishayaha. They practiced some millions of years old story this must be. Isn't it? How carefully Srila Prabhupada has given us that pure devotion to Krishna, that pure process of devotional service, and hence it has the same anubhavena, it has the same potency. That is why it is so important that we follow what Srila Prabhupada has given. First of all, it's very difficult to get a pure devotee who understands all these things. You see, tasmad gurum prapadyeta jignasu shreya uttamam. The spiritual master must be talking about shreya uttamam. He must not be talking about some material benefit. You control your mind in this way, you look at things in this way, in a positive way, don't get depressed. In that way you can enjoy the material world, you can go on with your material world with a positive attitude. This is not Shreya Uttama. These people who are talking about, they are not talking Shreya Uttama. Shreya Uttama is Krishna consciousness. Because everything else is a compromise of that one, and there are shades of ignorance in that. Varieties and different grades of ignorance is there. So the spiritual master who can give us that Shreya Uttama, and you should find such a spiritual master, and Prapadyeta, Jignasu, Prapadyeta, a truly inquisitive person should go and surrender unto him. Shabde pare cha nishnatam brahmanyupashamashrayam. Such a spiritual master is very rare, who is able to Vedega yahara charito. In the Vedas, here and there, qualities of a spiritual master are described. Somebody who fulfills all that, such a spiritual master is very rare. And when you find such a spiritual master, every word of his, take it into your heart fully. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Te Koryaikya. So like that we have to follow Srila Prabhupada's instruction with that kind of a faith. These are all very special things. Actually it is there in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Vedas, but most people don't follow these things, don't even recognize these things. Just like in the 12th chapter, in the concluding verse, what does Krishna say? He says, Yathoktam paryubhasate, etu dharmamrutam idam, yathoktam paryubhasate. Now what I have described to you, Arjuna, so far yatha uktam paryubhasate, one who follows this as I have described, this is dharma amrutam, this is eternal dharma. This is actually the eternal dharma. And one who follows this, and then Krishna qualifies two things. How this has to be followed. Shraddha dhana mat paramo. And this should be practiced with Shraddha. Shraddha dhana, with full faith. Because if the ultimate stage of realization is love of God, in that love of God, Shraddha is fully, it is rich with Shraddha. When somebody loves someone, with that person, that Shraddha it's full of Shraddha. When the mother loves the child, or the child loves the mother, in that love and affection, that Shraddha, confidence, faith is fully present. So that kind of a Shraddha dhana about Krishna. And mat paramo shraddhadhana mat paramo bhaktaste te athiva me priyaha. They become very dear to me, Krishna is saying. Mat parama means to make up our mind. Krishna is supreme in my life. Everything else I'll set aside. That's called mat parama. Making Krishna the supreme in our life. Just see this is exactly what Prabhupada has done to all of us. At least theoretically we have understood, isn't it? Krishna is everything. What is there in this world? Let me keep aside everything else. Shraddha dhana matpar. But Shraddha, that development of Shraddha is an indication of spiritual advancement. And to what degree we will set aside everything else. Shraddha dhana matparama. So, these are the principles. It's there in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is everything for me. One who understands it. Still, there are people who talk about Bhagavad Gita but don't want to understand and recognize the position of Krishna. See how much they are misled. How much they missed out the important message of Krishna. So, like this. So, and then, an important realization in this particular verse, with this we will close. They realized, evatmanas tadatmyam avisheshena samiyuhu. They realized their oneness with the Lord in the heart. Tadatmyam, it refers to oneness. But this oneness, again we should not miss, the Mayavadis misunderstand these things. Let's say, one Gujarati common man from some small obscure village in Gujarat goes to Delhi and he goes and meets the Prime Minister of our country. And a Gujarati from Gujarat goes and meets the Prime Minister. What language will the Prime Minister talk to him? It will be English, is it? No, obviously. Not even Hindi, right? He'll speak to him in Gujarati and both of them will talk Gujarati. And then they will talk and then they will, next what will the Prime Minister most likely ask? Where are you from? And then he will say, I am from so and so town or some village or something else. Then the Prime Minister may say, oh really, from that place? My mother is actually from that place. Oh really? And so they feel very good. Oh, he's come from there and my mother also from that place. And then maybe they will talk a little something about some Gujarati and language or something like that. And then they may say this Gujarati song? And then Prime Minister also says, yes, I know that wonderful song, no? And they will talk about that Gujarati song maybe. And then maybe they will talk about something about food. And then this man takes, what is my favorite? And then the Prime Minister may also have some favorite Gujarati food, right? He's after all Gujarati. So he will say, this is my, and then he's, oh really? And then this man, after talking all this interaction with the Prime Minister, he comes out and then he comes and then he says, I met the Prime Minister. He speaks the same language as I am. And then he's connected to the same town that I come from. And then he likes the same Gujarati songs, all Gujaratis like. And he likes the same Gujarati, all of us. So in that sense, I'm a Gujarati, he's a Gujarati. But if this common man thinks that I have the same power of the Prime Minister, he is grossly mistaken. There is oneness. Because he is Gujarati, he is Gujarati. He speaks the same language, he speaks the same language. He likes Gujarati food, he likes Saikat. There may be oneness in quality, but he gives an order to the army of India, anything happens? Nothing. Even one soldier he cannot transfer from one battalion to another battalion. He has no powers. Whereas the Prime Minister, he has all the power. Isn't it? So, this is how the Mayavadis miss this point. Tadatmyam avisheshena. There's no difference at all. Qualitatively, they start thinking that me and the Supreme are one in every respect. That this qualitative oneness is an important stage of realization of Krishna. So that is being taught about here. So all of these kind of things very, very few people properly understand the Vedic literatures. We'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki